Today, I'm going to show you 3 ways to dramatically expand your business by being more of who you truly are and attracting the right people in to work with you effortlessly. Hi, I'm Dana Kalin, and I built a multi-6-figure business while really staying true to who I am and serving at my highest levels. Very quickly, within a year, growing a tribe of over 6,000 highly engaged members and serving over 200 clients. One of my clients came in and she had actually got, a fair bit of success doing old marketing strategies. She was really all about kind of showing her lifestyle and trying to get people to want to be her. And at one point, that was working for her because the industry of coaching was a lot newer and she was getting clients in that way. But it wasn't really working anymore. So now she was at this point where, she came into me and she's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I might have to, go back to, she had a $300,000 a year corporate job at one point. And her first couple of years of coaching, she had pretty much got close to matching that. But she was down to making, less than, 6 figures at this point and saying, hey, I'm doing all the things that they worked before, but they weren't working anymore. And so with her, what I had her realize is that, those strategies she used to begin with were what she was told would work, and they did because of the climate of, how things were. But as people started to want, deeper connections and they wanted to see the real her, not this glamorized lifestyle and, only the, the positive things that she'd ever been through. And it was not, it wasn't that easy for her, but when we started to break through her real story and have her start to share, she had been through a lot and she actually was, a really magnetic person. And so as she started to share, some of her past and, really get more into the storytelling elements within her brand, she all of a sudden was able to actually attract people in again in a much, much more aligned way. Because one of the things that she had mentioned is that her clients that she would attract in, like she'd get them, in the door back then, but they wouldn't be the right people. And they were wanting this quick fix, which is, sort of what that type of imagery and marketing is trying to sell to people. And now who she was attracting in were the type of people that actually wanted to do the work and wanted the result, but were willing to show up fully and to look at those areas of their life that they weren't, they're, basically like their blind spots, and then go from there and actually make big shifts. So if you keep everything on more of that surface level with your marketing, the level of transformation that you're going to be able to get with your clients is also limited, because the type of people that are going to come in are not those people who are willing to go really deep and who are willing to really open up and do what it takes to have the results that they're looking for. So, what I really want to say is that your past doesn't really need to define you. In my own experience, I, in a lot of ways, kind of wasted a lot of years of my life by having I had a really difficult childhood, which led to, and later in high school, I developed a really severe eating disorder. It started out as anorexia and then became a combination of anorexia and bulimia. And I went in the military and did a lot of things like trying to give myself, more discipline, or, I actually even went in the military thinking that I'd lose even more weight, just, not really the right reason to do something like that. But what that led me to at the very, at my very worst, I weighed 69 pounds at almost 5'5", and I ended up in the hospital with a mild heart attack because my potassium was so low from throwing up 30 or 40 times a day that, and I had always planned that I didn't really have any plan for my life. Like, nobody thought I'd live to be 25. So what that really means to me is that when I hit that point and I really realized I did have a purpose here and started to have my spiritual awakening, everything shifted. So I think a lot of times we think that our past has to really define who we are now. And in a way it does. I think anything that you've been through that's really challenging or difficult makes you a stronger person, and it makes you more able to connect. And it happens for a reason. So I would never, take that back. That was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me at the time. It didn't feel like it, but it really has led me to really serve at a very much higher level than I think I ever would have before. Maybe I would have just had a normal job or got married and stayed home with my kids, or who knows, if I hadn't had that experience. So I feel like, it's a lot of what I bring forward into my work now. Are you still trying to please people? Are you still trying to show up in a way that it's what you feel like people want from you? Because I know that for a long time I really felt like, as a child, that, I wasn't accepted and people didn't love me, that I should, then, with my psychic gifts really awakening too, I could read people well enough to know like what I thought they wanted from me or what they, what people were really looking for. And that served me on some level that I could, never allow anyone to know me for a really long period of time. But if you're doing that, it really does a disservice not only to the people you're not truly connecting with because you're not 100% yourself, but to you. And when you really just decide, like, no matter what, I'm going to be myself, and people either take it or they'll leave it, that's when you really become more magnetic and you can actually attract in the right people for you. Because nobody is going to be loved by everyone. It really is just about being the best version of yourself, but still being you with your faults and, with whatever those things there are about you that you're not really showing as well. Your business is going to die if you don't stop being boring. Nobody wants to hear that same boring marketing of lifestyle that, isn't really even, what's going on. Don't fake it till you make it. That's not really where it's at now. Be yourself, highlight your strengths, but also be willing to share vulnerably the things that you've been through. Believing the lies that society tells you and who, you're being told that you need to be, that is, what took me to the place where I had an eating disorder that was, so severe that, I spent half my day throwing up and ended up where, I'd pass out multiple times a day. I got IVs pretty much twice a week at that point. And then I had a heart attack when I was still 21 years old. And at that point, up until then, I just assumed that one day I would die. But when I lived through that, I realized that I had a deeper purpose. Sources keep me on this planet to do something, and I could either just ignore that like I had been and not awaken to that calling, or I could face my fears, which I had a lot of them, and do something about it. I spent a lot of my life trying to fit in. When I was, really young in school, I never fit in. I was always different. As a very small child, I had even some psychic experiences that my mom thought were seizures, and, it was always like something was, wrong with me. So after that, I spent so many years of my life just trying to fit in and to be perfect and to have people like me, which was something that, I felt like I didn't have earlier in my life. And so many of you might still be coming out there with pieces of yourself that haven't been fully healed and trying to put on this image or show up as the person that you think the world wants you to be. But the world needs you to be you. And if you don't show up as who you're really meant to be, there's no way you can have the impact that you're meant to have. And so this planet is not going to be left a better place if you don't actually do what you're being called to do. In my highly engaged community of over 6,000 people, the conversation is a little bit different. We talk about things like activating your 24 strands of DNA, which is, one of the most powerful things that you can have done to actually accelerate your psychic abilities and to truly awaken your gifts. And it's something that I'm so passionate about that I actually learned how to do it. And now with all of my clients that I work with, on a closer level, I actually do the activations for them. But when I had that done myself, that was, really, really powerful. And these are topics that aren't, generally what normal society or, the status quo is always discussing. But with the way the planet's energy is really shifting and with so many more people awakening in this world, it's, where the energy is going. So having a space that, combines the practical business elements, but also some of those more esoteric and spiritual elements with it's really, a beautiful place to be. The first thing you're going to want to do is to activate your highest spiritual gifts. Here's a story about a client who was making, low 5 figures a month, and we 6 times her income by this actual download that I got about what her business model needed to be like. And I got that through, my psychic gifts. It kind of came through. And when I shared it with her and she actually took action on it, she was able to create 6 times the income within a period of less than 3 months, which is, really was pretty awesome. Everyone has gifts, like everyone has spiritual gifts. And the more that you can connect with them, the more that you can use them in your own business to make decisions that are completely aligned with your energy, with what your soul is meant to be doing on this planet. And that actually also leads to making a lot more money, having a lot more flow, feeling a lot better about, what you're doing, and that sense of fulfillment and purpose on the planet that so many of us are looking for. So if you really tapped into your innate spiritual gifts, your intuitive abilities, or, I want to call them psychic abilities. Everyone has the ability to be psychic on some level. And if you're able to connect with that and to actually activate these abilities and use them in your everyday life and business, you can have so much more of what you want in life. You basically can start to magnetize into you everything that you desire and to manifest almost at light speed. So even, if you're getting a lot of the things that you do want, but it's just not, coming fast enough, or there's some interference, or it feels like there's resistance, when you really are completely aligned and all of your gifts are being used, that resistance really just melts away. I'm so passionate about actually helping people activate their spiritual and psychic gifts that I ran a program designed for people to not only awaken their psychic gifts, but to pull it into their business. And I had a group of, about 40 women in there, and the results were really, really fantastic. And the really most amazing thing to me is that a lot of them are really out there owning it now. Several of them consider themselves full-blown psychics. Many of them tripled or even quadrupled their income during that program, even though the main focus of it was really around the activation of the gifts. And it was later on in the program that we really pulled it into the business. But that's how dramatic the results can be when you're really using all of your abilities in your business. What you're going to find is if you're willing to go ahead and go deeper and activate your spiritual gifts and really figure out what your true strengths are on a much deeper level with your psychic abilities. Everyone has different, ways of getting information. And even if you right now don't consider yourself intuitive or that intuitive, many of my clients came in at that level. And if you're willing to do what it takes, and it does, take some exercises to start to do this, you're going to notice that your business shifts. Everything becomes easier. Making decisions when you're using your intuition, you will stop making those decisions and hiring that wrong person, or, buying that course that you really didn't need or that wasn't aligned. Because if you're even able to access in your body a yes from a no, which every single one of you has that ability, you will never make a decision that's out of alignment for yourself again, unless you go against that. But at least having that ability to discern and to make a conscious choice to say, hey, I'm ignoring my intuition right now, I'm going to do it, that's fine. But a lot of us, are not in that space where we truly are connected with the internal wisdom that's within us that allows us to really make those type of decisions that can have us grow leaps and bounds in a really, really short period of time because they're aligned. When you're doing things that just are not truly aligned for you, you're going to get that resistance. You might get somewhere, but you're going to always feel like you're swimming against the current. And that's not how it has to be. I promise you. You need to go deeper with your content. One of the things that could be holding you back is that you're not really bringing all of what you have to offer into what you're sharing with the world. A lot of the content that's out there is very, very similar. It's a lot of the same stuff. And if you stay really surfacey with what you're bringing forward, even if everyone else is doing that, it's really going to limit you. The more you can really go into what really you're wanting to share with your tribe, with the world, the more you're actually going to attract in the type of people that you're really looking for, not the ones that you've accepted up until now, because that's who's come in. The type of content that you really want to focus on is what makes you different, what you can uniquely bring forward so that your ideal clients can get far more transformational results. A lot of times the content that's out there is somewhat helpful, but it's really not transformational. And these days people are really looking for a transformation. One of my favorite stories about, one of my clients who was trying to be, she was out there as a mindset coach, and she was trying to just be a very typical coach. And she had, done a little bit of NLP or, some basic coach training. But after working with her and really activating her psychic gifts, and in fact, she is one of the most powerful psychics out there. She definitely gives me a run for my money any day of the week. She incorporated that into her work, which really started to get people noticing her, and that her work went a lot deeper, and her results that she got with people were phenomenal. And by just even giving herself permission to use, not only her coaching abilities, but her other, aspects of her, and bringing that forward into her work as well, She's created a lot more success, in the most obvious way of financially and, with having that type of outcome. But her whole entire life has shifted as well because she feels like she's really who she's meant to be for the first time in really her whole life. You can create a lot of success without doing a 27-step funnel or taking photo shoots near the Eiffel Tower or having really complex marketing strategies that you don't even know how to execute yourself, and you need a team of 47 people, to have it happen. So I think a lot of times what people are doing is they're actually overcomplicating things, and it doesn't lead to more money. It leads to having to spend more money on elements that don't even feel aligned for you, and that you could have better results by doing something that actually felt good, was really simple, and that not everyone is doing right now. Because if you're, behind a trend, it's not really the place you want to be in. One of the things that you really want to bring forth in your business in today's climate is people are really looking for someone to get real. I told you that story of, how at one point I was throwing up 30 to 40 times a day. And did that move you? Even if you've had mentors that you've really followed and, just really took every single step that they told you to do and you've got some success from it, what happens is, although you might feel, like you're the perfect, straight A student, that leaves you feeling really hollow because you didn't really follow your heart and you didn't bring forward what you were meant to. Instead, just, bringing forward what they thought you were supposed to do or what worked for them. A lot of times the right strategy is the one that's most aligned with your energy, and everyone is different. So what works for someone else may have limited impact, when you go ahead and utilize it for yourself because it's not right for you, or it may work, but it may feel really out of alignment. And thus you start burning out, or you feel very forced into doing something that just isn't you. And that's not a sustainable business model, or even a sustainable way to live your life. And there is another way. Even though the way that you've been doing things has got you a lot of the things that you do want, the path that you're on is not going to get you where you really want to go. Click the link.